This is Not Only Books, episode number 4. I'm Craig Kubik,
I'm Jason Runnels.
and today we're going to cover some very special things. That is an advanced search using the library catalog.
Yeah, so today we're going to start with our basic search that we talked about a few weeks ago, and then we're going to dive into the advanced search and see what does it look like and what can we do with it. And we're going to use Southwestern Seminary's catalog since we know that one and we're familiar with it. So why don't we go ahead and get started?
And as we do, I'm going to play the part of the student who has questions to ask. So I'll share with you those things which we often get asked.
All right. So we're going to start with baptism and a basic search. Main page, that search option, we don't have advanced search from here. Some schools will. And so you can choose advanced search in that drop-down menu. But for us, we're just going to start that way. It's going to take us to our next screen. All right. So now we have gotten to our page that has our search results, the initial search results. But we want to see what the advanced search is going to do for us. In this case, for this catalog, advanced search is over to the far side. And so we're just going to go over there and click on advanced search and see what happens. And you can see it brings up a number of different fields, some delimiters and parameters that we can play with. And so the advanced search is really designed to help you kind of narrow your search and get more results that match what you need. But the big thing about this versus filters is that we can search through different fields at the same time with an advanced search.
You use the word delimiter. What's a delimiter? It's different than a filter?
Yeah, a delimiter is something that removes a portion of the results. So it limits what you're going to get in your search result. Whereas a filter is letting you look at everything kind of through a different lens. Okay. So we're searching for baptism. I'm going to go ahead and choose to change that field to an all text. I could change it to a title. I could change it to a subject. And it would look in those specific fields in the bibliographic record. But I'm also going to add a search. And so I'm going to do a search for an author. Let's just try Smith. It's a good name. I'm not going to put a first name in. I'm going to change the field to author. And I'm going to hit search and we'll see how many results we get.
Smith probably is a common name that surely a Smith will appear.
Right. And we have 2,832 resources that show up with baptism in the title and Smith as an author. That's pretty impressive. Compare that to the previous search without an author and just a keyword, and we had, I think, 58,000 or some large number of results. So we have reduced it quite a bit. Now let's go back and look at that advanced search again and see what else we can do with it. So as we pointed out, we can search through different fields. You can do abstract, ISSN, ISBN if you happen to know a specific item you're looking for. And since this is also Boolean in its search, we can change from and to or not. So Boolean tells us that we can search for one thing and another, or search for one thing and not another. And that's key because that can help you really start to separate some things that maybe get joined together pretty often. But say you don't want baptism and infant baptism together. So we could go in and do a search for baptism and Smith, but not infant baptism. And then our search result is at 2806. More than likely, infant baptism wasn't coming up in a lot of the results we already had. But that's one way to play around with your Boolean operators, the and, or, and not. As well, I'm going to change that back to and, so it's easier, and I'm going to take out that infant baptism. Below that, in this catalog setup, we have limits. So we can limit what collection we are searching from. Now, we've seen that in filters, where you can limit by catalog only or full text only. It's the same options in this setup of an advanced search. But here's something that's kind of nice to see. In this one, you can actually enter in a journal title, and it's then going to search for that word and that author within that journal. Since we're looking at baptism, let's look at Baptist history and heritage.
That's a well-known Baptist journal.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and search it again. We have 10 results.
So, wow, that really narrowed it down to a fine funnel there, down
Right.
to what we're looking for.
And I think it's really useful to be able to look for something within a journal, because if you know the journal well, then you know the content that it tends to present, and you have an idea whether or not you're going to find something in there. You aren't just throwing darts at a board and hoping to hit. You know you're going to get a result. And in that one, that's what we did.
And you said this is a journal. Well, we're looking at the catalog. So a journal is different than a book. So
Right.
this particular searching does more than books, right?
Right. And it's done not through filters, but just by including that journal title, we have taken everything else out of that equation so that it's only searching for articles, which is pretty nice. And here happens to be one that I thought was kind of interesting. Take up the work of Jesus Christ, Lee Scarborough's encounter with Reuben Torrey and the Holiness Movement, written by a Smith. So it deals with baptism, and now it's not in our title, but it's here in the keywords, and it's in the Baptist History and Heritage Journal. But since we have also talked about Lee Scarborough, I thought this was kind of an appropriate journal.
That is quite interesting to make it come up and be relevant to our last podcast.
That's right. Podcast number 3, talking about Lee Rutland Scarborough.
Not only books.
That's right. So that's kind of an introduction to that advanced search, some things you can do. Let's go back to advanced search and see what else is down below. We have a couple of other things that we can reduce or limit by. We have location. Not everybody's advanced search will look like this or do the same thing, but this one has location, so we can search based on availability in different parts of a library.
It's not a city in this case. This is the sections of different libraries or multiple libraries that are in a grouping.
Right. Then additionally, you can search by language.
So that's excellent for international students who are fluent in another language. They might find in their mother language an article that could be useful.
Right. Now be careful, because if we search for a language that's generally not represented in that journal, you're going to come up with no results.
Right. That
So
makes sense.
make sure you're thinking about what your upper parameters have been before you start playing with things down here at the bottom.
Things you need to take out. So if you
Right.
wanted to take out, you'd have to take out Baptist history and heritage if you spoke Afrikaans. That's
Right.
not likely to be included.
Right, exactly. So that is our advanced search. There are a couple of other things we can do here. This one, next to filters, we also have search options. And so we can change our mode of search. Is there a proximity element? Or are we looking for all of the search terms, smart text searching? Then we also have some expanders, apply related words, so it will automatically look at words related to baptism and add those in. Why don't we do that and see what happens to our search? And we'll take off apply equivalent subjects. There we go. We have 10 results that still come up. That's good. Baptism is our biggest thing still showing. And in this case, because we're being so specific, and especially in a specific journal, we may not get the variety of resources. So let's give it a shot. Go back, and we're going to remove our journal. This will open up our results to a much broader collection of resources. We'll check our search options and see if the apply related words actually does anything.
Okay.
And it did not.
It kept the 10.
No. Now that's the thing. When you're doing these kinds of researches or searches within a catalog, you've got to play around. You've got to try things to see what happens with this search that didn't happen here. Or you may discover, as in this advanced search example, that changing one thing did not affect the results. So you can continue forward with what you were doing and not worry about that parameter or option.
You can feel confident in what fairly confident in what you found.
Right. So that is advanced search. Now, can you think of a question that maybe a patron might have related to what we've just done?
Well, if I was an advanced student, I would be interested in keeping track of my searches.
Okay.
How can I manage sort of like an account? Is there something that I could store my searches, and how can I possibly have the system tell me if there's something happening on my topic? Is there a way of doing that?
There is a way, and this is related, in this case, to EBSCO, because Southwestern uses EBSCO to manage their discovery system. And so they have given a few things in this menu on the dashboard, the left side of the screen, that can help you save some searches and find out things. The catch is you've got to log in to MyEBSCO. So we're going to log into EBSCO and then we'll come right back for that search. Okay, so we're back. We've signed in to MyEBSCO, and we can tell that we are still signed in because we click on MyEBSCO and it shows who we are, Jason Runnels. And then I can go and look at my preferences or manage my account. But your question was, is there a way to track what you've been searching?
And can I put it somewhere once I've gathered all that kind of information?
Okay, so on this setup for Southwestern, EBSCO has created my dashboard. I think we mentioned it when we talked about the basic search. But if we click on Saved, we're going to be able to see here any records that we want to hold on to or any searches that we want to hold on to. Currently, I don't have any, but let's see if we can go get some and put them in this collection. Okay, so here is an item. Let's go ahead and click in this little checkbox here. And notice we get some things that pop up at the top. We get some little options. We have download, save, add to a project, share, or cite. Well, we're wanting to save it. So let's click on save. Done. Notice that over on the right, the little bookmark emblem goes from being white to black, letting me know that it has been saved as opposed to being open and ready to be saved. We'll scroll down a couple and we'll look at the Lee Scarborough option. Now what I should be able to do is just click on that bookmark and click Save. I don't have to click on the title and have that menu come up. But there's another one, and then let's look at this one, number 4, Between a Rock and a Hard Place. So we'll go ahead and save those. And now we'll come back over to the dashboard and look at saved and see if it has added anything to it.
There they are.
There they are. So those items are saved. It tells me a time that I actually saved it. I can sort those newest or oldest. I can still look at some other options on the side: Cite, Add to Project, Share, Download. So let's talk about the project. If we want to have a collection of resources, say you're in multiple classes, you have 2 or 3 research papers that you're working on, and you want to have a project for each class. So you can start that by clicking over here on this blue button. It says New Project. I'm going to give it the name Baptism. Due date, let's say it's due November 14th.
So you can look at your syllabus and see if I have something
That's
a paper that's due.
And we'll say this is a 25-page paper. For Baptist history class. Okay. If I needed to put in there number of sources needed, a lot of times students will be required to have a certain number of journals, certain number of books, and a certain number of primary resources. You might put that in here as well so that you can go back and see it. But we'll create that. So now we have one. Let's go ahead and add another one. And this one we'll call music history. Due date, does it matter? No, but we'll say this one's September 26th. It's coming up faster. And this is create a bibliography of music history resources. 6 biographies and 4 peer-reviewed journal articles, sorry. Okay. A little more information on that one. It's coming up faster. I need to be aware of what's happening. So here are the projects that we've got. We're going to go back to our search. We're going to change what we've got up here because it's still holding on to our Baptist and Smith. And we're going to do a search for music history just to see what comes up. 900,000. And I want to start adding things to my project. So, A History of Western Music by Burkholder. I'll come over here. I'm going to click on Tools and Add to Project. And it's going to let me choose which project I put that in.
So this time we don't choose the bookmark because you know exactly what you're going to be studying for or using for that particular paper.
The bookmark is good for, I'm just doing an initial search and I'm just looking for information. But once you have those projects created, you can be more specific and intentional with what you are choosing. So we'll go ahead and add one more to that one. We'll add this, A History of Film Music. We'll add it to the project. And we'll come up here and we'll choose it again. Notice we could add a new project again if we wanted to at this point. But right now we're just going to add it to music history. Done. And so we can come over here now to our dashboard, check projects. We have 2. It tells you how many projects you have, and then you can click on the title of that project and there are my records I've got. Okay, click on searches. We didn't save any searches in our project. We've only saved our items, but we could start a new search and have that be specific. Music history. And let's do an author search. Let's tack on Ruskin. So this is our initial search. To save it, we need to tell the system to do something. So at the kind of not all the way to the top of the screen, but where it says show 10 or relevance, there are 3 dots. We can click on that. Click.
And I see as it's coming up, save search and create alert. So there's 2 things I would be interested in as a student.
So we'll save this search first. Okay, so we can give it a title and a description. Here's all the information. It tells us how many results there were. So we're going to go ahead and save that. We'll close it. Let's go back and let's look at the alert option. So the alert is something that we want to do so that if something new is added to the catalog, we get a notice about it. Notice it says there's a date of expiration. Be aware of that. It's a year away, but keep that in mind. For a dissertation, alerts would be very useful because you're spending a lot of time working on that. Or if there's a particular topic that you want to explore as you go through your degree, or if you are outside of a degree and you are trying to do a long-term book project, these alerts are going to be very useful in that respect. As we look down, we see alert creation notifications. Yes, I want to receive an email when the alert is created. And for running the notifications, I want to receive an email when the alert is run, regardless of whether the search incurs results.
I notice at the top there's a frequency. Maybe I don't want to know every day. What can I do other than every day?
So this system gives us the option of daily, weekly, and monthly. And so more than likely, monthly is going to be a better option. If you're at an academic institution that has a library that's adding books on a very regular basis, you might do weekly. If they're not adding on that high of a frequency, then you can go back to monthly, and you're still working within a time frame. Now, if it's a research paper that's due in 2 months,
maybe you need it more frequent.
Right. Daily or the alerts maybe won't help you in time. But here we go. We've created that alert. It did ask me for my email address. Where is it going to send? And so we're going to create that alert. There we go. And now I will be getting alerts when music history books that include Ruskin are added to this catalog. So those are some pretty useful little tools for kind of organizing your research and making it intentional and not just haphazard, I need something today. Over on the dashboard, we looked at projects, we looked at saved. We have 2 more to kind of look at. Recent activity. So what this is going to do is, let's say you are searching, you step away for a while, lunch, class, nap, but you come back and you've forgotten what you were searching for. You can go to recent activity and you can see what your search history has been.
Will it know who I am and what my searches are if I don't use MyEBSCO? Will it track me and know?
It will track.
Long?
It will track it, but I don't believe it's going to save it like we've talked about. You've got to be logged in to save that content to your MyEBSCO account. It does track a general history of what you've been looking at, but there's no indication here of how long it's going to hold on to that information. So EBSCO may clear that cache fairly frequently.
But probably if you logged into MyEBSCO, you have a better chance of holding on to your recent activity.
Right, right. And notice it goes all the way back to the first search that we did. Results, how many there are. You can then start using these other buttons to continue the search to find more resources. You can save these searches, right? You can search the details, you can add it to your project, you can delete them if it's not really what you want. So pretty useful information there. You can also look at what records have you actually viewed, which, as we know, can be very important because a general search, you'll scroll through. But if you stop and look at a record, there was something that caught your eye. And so clicking on that viewed records can be very beneficial. And then the last section that we would look at here is the alerts. We've already put an alert out, not a journal alert, but a search alert. And so you can look at that, periodically check and see, if that's what you want.
Well, thank you for taking us through the advanced search. There is a lot of things to remember.
Yes.
And it might be helpful to go back and replay this podcast, finding the sections that really speak to your particular need, because you covered a lot of content.
It was a lot and it was fast.
Yes. Well, thanks for watching Not Only Books. Join us again another day.